you feel in charge?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, my creeps. Hello, new peeps. And today, we're talking about how to use your multicolored cards to guide your cube drafts. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Do you ever wonder why being specific with multicolored cards is important? Do you ever take notice on how your friends draft from your cube? Do you ever notice how the multicolored section of your cube makes a big influence on how drafts and picks are made? Well, this concept is simple, and I can use my own cube as an example. And I will. But first, I must express that you, as a cube designer, designing your very own customized set of Magic the Gathering, you need to know that the multicolored section of your cube maps out the end results of deck design. As a Magic set, you need to see your monocolored sections in your cube, like your basic monocolored white, green, black, etc., all need to fit a singular theme individually. For example, my mono white pushes enchantments in my cube, and my mono green pushes for landfall and big stompy strategies. My mono black pushes for graveyard recursion and reanimation, and my mono red pushes for haste engines and creature strategies. My mono blue pushes for creature control, and in all the mix of these I put in cards to support other monocolored themes, but they work on their own as well. But the multicolored section works hard to blend the multiple monocolored strategies together, and this should not be ignored or underlooked or undervalued, because this is a major step into world building for your cube. And these are simple themes. These are simple things to grab onto, to grasp, to grip. These are things that should connect automatically, but sometimes they don't because it gets hard to see when you're so focused on the small monocolored themes. You want your monocolored sections themes to be simple because multicolored decks make things more complicated. With the multicolored decks, you'll find that it breeds more interesting interactions and more complicated synergies. This is where using your multicolored sections more wisely and to push for a clear direction in your cube is key. Let's look at some monocolored and multicolored cards from three colors I mentioned previously. White in my cube is about enchantments, so let's take Sigil of the Empty Throne and Core Spirit Dancer as two white picks. Easy enough, going for an Aura's enchantment deck. Now how about black cards, like Animate Dead and Eternal Thirst? You can see where the enchantment theme melds in these two colors, and yet these two cards work by themselves in their own strategy, or their own decks, just in general. Now let's spice things up and add an Everstrike for its aura ability. This card signifies that the deck we're building is possible, and now let's toss in a Killian Ink Duelist. Even though the card does not say enchantment or aura on it, with the cards we do have, it suggests that the aura's Voltron theme is possible, giving us a discount on spells that we use to target our own creatures. This gives us increasing positive incentive to keep building this deck. And to add some more flavor, we are going to add green to this deck. We are going to add Maelstrom Pulse for some removal, and Dromoka the Eternal. And add a little more extra, we're going to put in Teneb the Harvester for two thematic creatures for buffing your board state and themes. And as you can see, all these cards push a direction, like signpost cards, but also look at our multicolored cards and notice how they will influence our deck building decisions. And instead of going green, what if we went red and put in Dread Horde Butcher in this deck, and Rakdos Headliner? It is an obvious nod that not only the multicolored cards offer expanded opportunities and help map out deck builds, they make draft picks simple on the brain. Because this is why we need our themes expanded upon. I mean, we can add again Arcane Weaver for more enchantment interactions. It's that simple. Now, in the realm of adding red instead of green, we can entertain adding into the deck Figure of Destiny and Rayav Mastersmith, who also give us signpost card material directing where our draft picks need to be focused on. But to put a needle on it, or put a needle in it, the point I am making here is that not only do we need to make our monocolored portion of the cube simple and clear, the multicolored portion of the cube has to integrate with the two colored themes that we are pushing. Red cards need to do red things, white cards need to do white things, and Boros cards need to do both red and white things. Same as Orzhov, needing black and white to do their color things, and the same for every other multicolored card in their corresponding monocolored themes. The key element and the takeaway here is that you need to set parameters for your cube. This is something you need to decide early on in the cube designing process. Think about this. Cube is the Wild West of Magic the Gathering. And when you decide a theme for a single color, you need to cattle drive that theme all the way into the multicolored sections of your cube and make sure every card has a home deck to go into while being flexible with every other archetype. Now, not all cards will fit in every deck, but every card needs to specify which deck it can go into. This is especially true for the multicolored sections. The zone of opportunity needs to show itself in your draft picks, and that is why your multicolored cards need to force its signpost cards and be malleable enough and to be flexible for different strategies. Because not every deck in the cube that you design will be made, but all the pieces for each strategy will be used. Thusly, why it is important that you pay attention to your multicolored themes. Your multicolored section gives people answers to the decks they are building during the draft. So, be clear with your strategies and synergies as much as possible. It is not a fun draft when picks are just a mess and a slew of janky randomness. And let's make our multicolored cards guide our cube drafts with ease. And that concludes today's super. And that in a tortoiseshell is multicolored cards guiding your drafts.
Well, it's called the internet, and it's completely revolutionized the way we live and access vital information. For example, have a look at this.
Do you need a quality case for carrying your cube around? Want a product you can trust? Go to CacapocotCG.com for your MTG Cube needs and more. They have high quality cube gaming carrying cases at affordable prices. I've had my own case for more than 5 years now, and man, I can't express my confidence more than just making a non-sponsored commercial for this company. You don't need to be paid or sponsored to shill for high quality products like these, so go and check out Cacapoco TCG now, and be amazed and rest assured you're in good hands.
Wow. Now that's vital information.
I know, it's amazing.
I got you a present.
Really?
Welcome to the Tortoise Top 10 Innistrad Midnight Hunt cards I love from the set. I curated this list off my own personal preferences, and I hope you love this list too. And we start right now. For our first card on the list, we have Suspicious Stowaway, a 2-mana 1/1 that can't be blocked. She loots when she connects with a player during combat, and that's just sauce. Then, if you can transform her into Seafaring Werewolf, you have a 2/1 version of the Stowaway, and that can be aggressive. This card is all the rage for the buck. Then we have the dreadful Lear, Disciple of the Drowned, who really pushes the game forward with making spells uncounterable for all players. Also, this card gives all your spells in the graveyard flashback. Oh my! That is a very powerful and fun card. Then, as we near sundown, we have Teferi, who slows the sunset, whose +1 ability is just really pushed to control the board. His -2 is just solid card selection, and his ultimate is just stupidly good if you get there, basically letting you share your opponent's turns. That's a bit too much.
Do you hear the wind in the trees? Or is that old stick fingers tapping on your window?
This legendary 2x mana creature is amazing for the reanimation strategies, with his X helping you bury creatures in your graveyard, giving you an army to reanimate. This horror is no foe to self-mill and is quite the amazing spectacle. And on the topic of reanimation, we have Digraph Rebirth. This card just makes me giddy with glee. A reanimation spell that can cost less for each creature that died this turn? I mean, gee golly, wizards, spoil me with treats. On top of this nonsense, the card has flashback, and its reduction cost is still valid. Now on to the number 5 card on the list. We have this very spicy Arcane Infusion, a 2-mana instant that helps us dig for kill spells, counter spells, and combo pieces. This card speaks to my very essence of my blue playerness. Wait, this card has flashback too? Now, this card, Hollowed Respite, is just tantalizing and has a way to untap a creature and gives a buff or deter an opponent's creature for another turn. This card is pretty boss for a sorcery and gives you extra ETB effects as well. And this spell has a good flashback cost. The rate is really good. Now on to a great pre-combat card that helps push the game in your favor. We have the Boros colored Angel Fire Ignition, giving a creature a sizable buff and some keyword soup with Indestructible in the mix, and makes me excited for combat. And if you like the cards on this list so far, then you may consider running this card. A cheap draw spell that lets you manipulate the top card of your library into your graveyard. This card is just the bee's knees, and I hope you would consider running this card. And on to the top card of the list, we have the inseparable Rin and 7, who is just chocked full of loyalty abilities and is completely worth the 5 mana cost. I mean, just read the card, I'll give you time. And this is the top card on my list. So good, so fun. These cards are just great. This card itself is just great for the casual diehard like me.
And you didn't disappoint.
God, I love being a turtle!